Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the GRPS Board of Education meeting for February 10th. We respectfully request that you turn off cellular phones and refrain from clapping, cheering, or making audible comments. We invite you to make formal public comment during designated times on either agenda items, non-agenda items, or both. And those comment cards are in the back of by both entrances. So if you would like to make public comment and haven't filled one of those out, please go ahead and go get one of those, and we'll make sure that we get you up here. Julie, our board assistant, is over here and she collects those. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and we always will make sure that our students get a chance to speak at the beginning of the agenda comments. Start with roll call.
All right. Hopefully you all can hear me. Trustee Moreno?
Present.
Trustee Melton?
Here.
Trustee Rodriguez here. Trustee Wade?
Present.
Trustee Williams?
Present.
Trustee Williamson?
Present.
Trustee Davis?
Present.
Trustee Kilpatrick?
Present.
And President Davis?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
All right, can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And moving forward with celebrations.
So I'm going to invite Ms. Colito Moore down to talk about the annual 20th anniversary of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Social Justice Contest winners. Ms. Moore.
Can everyone hear me? Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Davis, and GRPS board members. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate our scholars this evening. Of course, my name is Kalita Moore, and I'm the Director for the Office of Equity and Inclusion Program for Public Schools.
I'm sorry, Kalita, could you use the microphone just so that they can hear it on the recording? Thank you so much.
All right, can everyone hear me now? Is that better? Okay, thank you. So this is the 20th year that the MLK Social Justice Contest has been held. In that time, we've celebrated a tremendous partnership with Warner, Norcross, and Judd. They have been our sole sponsor, and we want to give them a hearty thank you for that. But more importantly, now on to this year's winners. Congratulations to Isaac Rizkalin. If you're in the audience, please stand. Isaac, I know you're in the front row there. And Isaac, I do have your certificate and your Hamilton tickets.
Oh, okay. Top of the day.
Annalyn Pito. Is Annalyn here? No. And Karis Davis. But now let's hear from our winners.
Over the past 2 decades, this contest has really grown, both in participation and in scope of the work. In the beginning, the students were asked to reflect specifically on the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. in an essay format. And over the past couple of years, we've expanded that to include a variety of submission formats, and the students are able to reflect on a range of social justice issues that are important to them. And we've really seen the way that this just really ignites the creativity of the students and allows them to bring history really close to where we are in the present. The partnership between the firm and Grand Rapids Public Schools over the past 20 years has just been incredible. The participation of the students, the dedication of the staff, the way that the community shows up to honor these students is just always so heartwarming. And we at Warner are just so incredibly proud to have partnered with them over the years. The legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King is just as relevant today as it ever was, and we are so proud to have played a very small role in continuing the legacy of Martin Luther King through the incredible work of these students.
I created the drawing I did in that format because I like drawing, and I think that I could draw something to express the way I feel and how Trayvon Martin could have felt in my piece. I think my writing and my art, my drawing, symbolized that it was okay that to be angry or stuff like this does happen to people and African Americans and all people. It does happen, and that I drew my drawing because I thought it might mean something or show people that it wasn't okay and police brutality is not a good thing. It's supposed to be Trayvon Martin, and the Skittles is covering like his eyes, and I have Skittles there with like blood because he was bleeding, and I have the red and the blue for like police, and it says I don't have a gun because he didn't have a gun. The person that shot him thought it was a gun, but he had Skittles, and how I just wanted to represent what happened to him.
To me, my song means a lot. I wanted to write my song because I wanted to show people that it doesn't matter the way, because you don't get to choose how you're born and what you look like. It's not like you come to life and then you're like, okay, I want to be this tall, I want to look like this, I want to have this skin color. You don't really get to choose. Everyone's equal.
Black and white, why do we have to fight? Martin Luther King had to fight for us to get along. Martin Luther King lost his life for us to get along. Martin Luther King went to jail for us to get along. Martin Luther King went through so much for us to get along. So can we just not repeat our history and stay in peace? Please don't repeat our history. Martin Luther King worked for equality.
The message I was trying to send through my song is that everyone's the same, and you don't have to change yourself for other people's likings. Other people can adjust to the way you are, but when you change yourself, you start to look down on yourself even more, and then you just crumble.
The two things that inspired me to participate in this contest were my teachers and the poem The Mask by Maya Angelou. The Mask is pretty much about how she felt her race had to hide their true emotions to get by. A message that I was trying to convey with my poem is that people like me have a privilege, and instead of abusing that privilege, we should use it for the greater good and help the people who don't have the privilege. I cannot heal their wounds alone, nor tread the trail they've gone through, but I can stand, not dismiss the truth, and I can lift the light high above my head, for in this light they too belong, and their fight is one I must defend. So we must all walk together, heads lifted high, for justice must be shown. I would like to thank the two teachers that most definitely taught me how to write a good poem. My fourth grade teacher, Mr. Dolphin, and my teacher right now, Mr. Matthew. Mr. Dolphin taught me and sparked my learning of how to use metaphors and similes and other vocabulary stuff. Mr. Matthew also taught me how to give some meaning to it too. So, thanks.
I just have to say their work is amazing and exhibits the thoughtfulness and brilliance of our scholars. The grand prize winners, I just want to say what they did receive. First prize was an Apple iPad and 2 tickets to Hamilton. The first runner-up got an Amazon Fire HD Plus tablet with a wireless charging dock and the 2 tickets to Hamilton. And then the second runner-up got a $100 gift card to We Are Lit Multicultural Bookshop with 2 tickets to Hamilton. This year, we received 185 submissions in addition to the 3 winners. And we have 46 scholars who received honorable mention. The honorable mention scholars each win a $25 gift card to We Are Lit Multicultural Bookshop. I have slides with their names on it. I just want, they're grouped by school, but I wanted to share what schools did participate. We had scholars from Aberdeen, Center for Economicology, Dickinson, Grand Rapids Montessori, Harrison, Martin Luther King Leadership Academy, North Park Montessori, Ridgemore Park, Riverside, and University Preparatory Academy. So these are the students who won for honorable mention. And you see the competition was pretty stiff. I would like to send a sincere thank you to all the scholars and teachers who participated this year. Their work again was amazing. And a final thank you to our partners at Warner Norcross and Judd. And as a final highlight, I'd like to share with the board that for the second consecutive year, the Grand Rapids Public Museum will be exhibiting all of the artwork for our MLK scholars throughout the entire month of February to celebrate Black History Month. So take time to go down and see that as well. It's a great honor for them. So thank you for allowing us this time.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of you. That was wonderful. Okay, moving forward, we have report of the student representatives. Rima, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Just a quick couple quick things. So this week we are having our Superintendent Advisory Council meeting this Wednesday. I'll give you updates on that next month on what we kind of talk about and some of our topics. NHS is also hosting a blood drive at Union. There is some appointments available. That will be next week, Wednesday, February 19th. And then this past Wednesday and Thursday, February 5 and 6, Union High School decided to dedicate those days to WIDA testing. And that helped finish a lot of testing and gave some students a break with a couple packets of work to catch up and continue to learn while they are not testing. And afterwards, the WIDA testers got a little reward for finishing the test and their hard work that it did. But that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have noticed that we have a lot of scholars here from, it looks like you're from the STEM. And we do have a couple public comment. I have 2 public comment from those scholars. We're gonna go ahead and let them give their public comment before we move into closed session. Are there any others? I have 2 up here. Okay, so Jay Levi, Alford? And Samaj? Okay. And then I have another one as well, so I have 3. Right up to that podium, yep, I'm sorry.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for having my scholars take up 3 rows of the school board meeting today. I'm Jay Levi Alford. I'm the director of the STEM Scholars Program at STEM Greenhouse, and our mission is to create an environment where we have proficiency and confidence in math and STEM. And not just that, but leadership, college exploration. It's kind of just a wraparound program. And we want to thank you guys for your support of the program, because hopefully one day we're able to fill this entire sea of blue with STEM scholars students. So I have 2 brave young men who want to give some comments for the whole group, and we'll be out your way because their bedtime's coming up. So.
Mine too. And can you just share your name before you give your comment as well?
My name is Kyler Jackson. Good evening, members of the Grand Rapids Public School Board. My name is Kyler, and I am so grateful to be here tonight to share how the Sankofa STEM Academy and STEM Scholars Program have impacted my life. Before joining these programs, I knew I liked STEM, but I didn't realize just how many opportunities were out there. Through hands-on learning, amazing mentors, and exciting challenges, I have gained skills and confidence that I know will help me in the future. One moment that really meant a lot to me was my first time arriving in college. I was in 6th grade, and I was at GRCC. Everyone was welcoming, and the first week of me being there, I met so many new people. The experiences and opportunities helped me realize what I wanted to do when I grow up. Sankofa had a big impact on not only my academic life and also my social life. I wouldn't have these opportunities without your support. Your generosity is helping students like me dream bigger and work harder towards our goals. You are making a real difference, and I hope to one day inspire others just have you inspired me. Thank you for believing in us and investing in our futures. I also wanted to thank the Amway Foundation and Mr. and Mrs. DeVos. We appreciate you so much.
Good evening, members of the Grand Rapids Public School Board and honored guests. My name is Samaje Coleman, and I am honored to stand here today. I wanted to thank the Amway Foundation and Mr. and Mrs. DeVos. I have had the amazing opportunity to participate in the Sankofa STEM Academy and STEM Scholars, and these programs have truly made a difference in my life. Through these experiences, I've learned so much, not just about science, technology, engineering, and math, but also about teamwork, problem solving, and believing in myself. The hands-on projects, the non-stop encouragement from mentors, and the chance to explore new ideas have helped me see a future where I can make a difference. One memory that stands out to me is last year when I was in 7th grade. We were introduced to a team building activity called Blind Retriever. This was a fun and very challenging blindfold activity that builds confidence, communication, and trust skills. One person is blindfolded while the other acts as their guide. The guide verbally directs their blindfolded partner through an obstacle course of path, preventing them from bumping into obstacles or other people. The blindfolded partner must listen carefully and follow the instructions to be successful. Not only did I learn valuable skills from this activity, but my sides hurt for a few days from laughing so hard. I know that none of this would be possible without your generosity and commitment to our GRPS scholars like me. The STEM program has made me more confident in my abilities and excited about what lies ahead. One more time, I'd like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for investing in my future and in the future of so many others. I hope that one day I can use what I've learned and give it back to others, just like you have done for me. Thank you.
And thanks for being here tonight to all of you. Okay, Trustee Rodriguez, can you read us into closed session?
All right, so I move that the board go into closed session for the purpose of a strategy and negotiation session connected with the negotiations of various collective bargaining groups at the request of the superintendent as permitted by the Open Meetings Act, Section 81C.
So moved. Support. My bad. Support.
We do have to take roll by name. Yep.
Trustee Moreno?
Do I just need to say a support? Yeah, support.
Trustee Melton?
I don't love the timing, but I support the idea of going into closed session, yes.
Trustee Rodriguez, yes. Trustee Wade? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Williamson?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Kilpatrick?
Yes.
And President Davis?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, are we staying in the auditorium then?
Are we staying here?
It
Might be
probably
easier for us to
easier
move.
to go downstairs.
Okay, so we will excuse ourselves and go downstairs. Okay, we are moving forward with our agenda. Next up is public comment for board agenda items only. We will have 3-minute comments tonight. And are there any other comment cards before we get going? Okay. Matt Marlowe, you can come on up, followed by Jane Neiman. That's fine. Yep, I reread policy and union reps get to go first, so go for it.
Take one down, pass it around.
Yeah.
My name is Matt Marlowe, President of GREA. Thank you, President Davis. Thank you, Dr. Roby, and distinguished board members. I've provided a packet of information with regard to similarly situated public school districts. So essentially, Rochester Community Schools, which serves about 14,000 kids, are similar size. Also, Warren Consolidated, in addition to Kalamazoo Public Schools, and last one was Plymouth Canton. So they all range in about approximately 14,000 students. What you'll see at the first part basically breaks it down by staffing. So is it how many administrators they have, how many teachers they have, how many parapros and aides, and also how many non-instructional staff. So it kind of gives you a framework of a comparison. Okay, similar situated districts, this is kind of their staffing. I've also included at the end of the packet all of the properties owned by Grand Rapids Public Schools. And I noticed on the website, it mentions that Grand Rapids Public Schools has 67 buildings that equal approximately 4 million square feet, which is a lot of property, because when I talk to other presidents of the local unions, you're talking about approximately 26 buildings in order to have 14,000 kids. I understand there's a long history with the district and having 28,000 students at one point. Over the years, I don't think it's anyone's fault per se, but I think we do have a lot of property in the district that we could probably utilize for future use. As far as I know, when selling properties, there's always a concern, well, we don't want to sell to a charter school for competition, and we don't just want to sell it and have anyone do what they want to do with it. You could deed it out to be residential. There's a possibility there. So when people say, well, that would only be a one-time sale, yes, you'd sell the building. 2, you would take away the costs that you have to do in order to keep it warm or it's from being dilapidated. The plus of that is you sell property, you have a developer put homes on it, residential, and then you're having families move in. And then these families are having children and more children. You're looking at an increase in enrollment, because we were looking at, our enrollment numbers are pretty steady right now, but they have trended down for many decades now. So these are just some possible solutions to kind of look at, for the board. Like I said, I'm excited about this new board. You guys have already went in closed sessions just to talk and to problem solve. So that's a great sign. So we really appreciate that. And so if you have any questions about this, it was from my school data, and the other real estate information was from local Grand Rapids website, so from the city of Grand Rapids. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Jane Neiman, followed by Ismailis Nunez.
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, President Davis, members of the board. I'm Jane Neiman, Vice President of GREA. I wanted to shout out my colleagues at Union High School, first of all. Our student rep mentioned our WIDA testing last week that we piloted for the first time. We had students take over 2,000, or roughly around 2,000 WIDA tests. Each student takes 4. And we were able to accomplish quite a lot in a couple of days, which ultimately decreases disruption in learning. It decreases, it increases the consistency of students being in the classroom and not being pulled out, and just allows them to have that extra content learning time, especially before our spring testing window in April with the PSAT and the SAT and spring map. So I want to shout out my colleagues for that. I also saw the collective bargaining closed session on the agenda and wanted to reiterate once again GRE's ask to make bargaining open, at least the meetings between the district and the union, and allow either it to be live streamed so that people can hear and see what is going on at bargaining, and or have a small audience be present there so that people wish to witness the process and how it goes, that they could do so. It is allowable by law, and if both sides agree to do that, and GREA is making that ask, I think that would be beneficial. Also, just wanted to reiterate the value, the wonderful educators we have in this district, and the value they bring to this district. And obviously, our first concern is students, but if you don't value and take care of your educators, it's harder for them to value and take care of your students. And it is definitely become a hardship. We hear about a lot of hardship from our members with the increase in healthcare. The bargained raises in the last 3 years in the current contract have not kept up with inflation or the increase in healthcare. And we have a lot of educators looking elsewhere for jobs, and we know that we had over 200 vacancies last year. So I just want to reiterate that while the district may say they can't afford more than a 1.5 increase, I would like to remind this board that $16.5 million was transferred into capital funds in the last 2 years, and that we will not see a huge decrease in foundation allowance. And while the federal stimulus is gone, Rhonda Cribbs, our financial officer, is doing a great job budgeting, so much so that we've had a $40 million surplus in the fund balance. So I just want to put it out there, if we want to stop the churn, we need to show that we value our educators financially and
That's
help them
time,
cover
Jane.
costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ismailis?
Ooh, I wish I was that tall. Good evening, y'all. My name is Ismailis Nunez, and I sent you all this letter earlier, and I feel that it's my responsibility to also address this in the public. And I am a concerned community member and someone who personally signed the Action Network letter advocating for GRPS to become a sanctuary school district. And I'm deeply disappointed that at some point, a decision was made based on certain behaviors to suppress these voices rather than engage in meaningful dialogue. As leaders in the governing body of this district, the public entrusts you to listen to the concerns, just as you expect your educators to listen and do for their scholars. Yet you set the standard of how GRPS operates. And what I witnessed at the recent working board meeting was dismissive behavior when it came to this critical issue that was raised, especially as it relates to our undocumented families and students. Becoming a sanctuary district means implementing a policy that ensures that protocols are followed and that the board can measure its impact and hold the superintendent accountable. You all have repeatedly emphasized the board's role in setting the what, while the superintendent determines the how. Why this process is being handled any differently, I don't understand. I have seen districts avoid adopting a formal policy because they believe all their educators will want what's best for their students. Unfortunately, that has not always been the case. Recently in Fort Worth, Texas, a substitute teacher went on social media to alert ICE about undocumented students in his school. I want to believe that all educators are committed to the well-being of their scholars, families, and communities. But experience has shown that we cannot always assume that this is true. I all sent you an article if you were not aware of that situation in Fort Worth, Texas. And so my question is, if a situation like this were to occur in GRPS, how would the district handle it? What policy assures me that our scholars, their families, and our educators are truly protected? Without a clear, measurable policy, there are no guarantees. A commitment is not a guarantee. The community deserves transparency, accountability, and a commitment to ensuring safety for all students. You committed to listening to your constituents, but that did not happen. Will there be accountability or a conversation about why this happened and why this decision was made? I want to trust you. I really do. But that is difficult when commitments are made and then broken. I urge you to reconsider how you engage with this process, honor the voices that have spoken up, and clarify how GRPS plans to protect its scholars, families, and educators. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Ham, followed by Jacinda Swanson.
Good evening, Dr. Roby and Board of Education. My name is Erica Ham, and I am the GREA representative for your Grand Rapids Public Schools Nurse Group. My nurses have asked that I come to you today to speak with you and take a moment to acquaint you with GRPS school nursing. The nurses, along with our health services leadership, like to say that we are a well-oiled machine. The staff RNs comprise a group of 19 experienced nurses who come from diverse nursing backgrounds such as the NICU, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, the PICU, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, Pediatric Emergency, Home Health and Hospice, and Rehabilitation. As professional nurses, we are members of the Michigan Association of School Nurses and the National Association of School Nurses. We oversee the health offices of all GRPS school buildings, each of us assigned to between 1 and 3, depending on scholar acuity, such as tube feeds and complex medical care. Your registered nurses organize the school's medical emergency response teams, which are your MERT teams. We train staff in the use of AEDs and stock epinephrine for anaphylaxis allergies. GRPS is unique in that each school building is also stocked with emergency Narcan for opioid overdoses and albuterol for asthma attacks. Not every district has this. The next time you are in a school building, I encourage you to step into the health office, meet your RN, and ask about the AED and the yellow emergency medication boxes. We manage acute conditions such as asthma attacks, injuries, fractures, rashes, and illness. We monitor, assess, and care for scholars with chronic conditions such as diabetes, asthma, and cystic fibrosis. And we do all of this through the lens of health equity with awareness of implicit bias which exists in healthcare. GRPS nurses also provide staff education across the district, including CPR training, sudden cardiac arrest response training for school staff, and stop the bleed tourniquet training. For scholars, our health education includes HIV and puberty classes and vaping education. As the top medical personnel in our buildings, we work to monitor the health and safety of all scholars, staff, and visitors. Just this month, one of our nurses noticed subtle changes in a young child's breathing and directed that they go to the emergency department, where this student was subsequently admitted into the hospital with RSV. We are trained and ready for emergencies, and we care deeply about the health and safety of our student population to support their academic success. And we often do this with less compensation than other local nursing professions. I appreciate your time in listening to the value that your school nurses bring to GRPS, and I'm always available for consults and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Jacinda Swanson, followed by Bo Torres.
Good evening. My name is Jacinda Swanson. I'm a resident of Grand Rapids for 20 years. I'm a retired political science professor from Western Michigan University, so public education is something that's extremely close to my heart. I'm speaking tonight on the agenda item 12.3 on the statement about immigrant families. At the January 27th meeting, several trustees echoed community members' calls for Grand Rapids Public Schools and its superintendent to work with local groups like GR Rapid Response and Consecha GR. I'm wondering if you all can address if that's begun. At the January 27th meeting also, Superintendent Robbie stated that GRPS has been working with the ACLU of Michigan and the Michigan Immigration Rights Center, other known as MERC. I hope the superintendent and the board can explain to the community in detail what they are doing to implement the very long list of specific concrete recommendations laid out in the ACLU of Michigan and MERC's January 22nd letter to Michigan school superintendents. And it's a 10, 15-page letter. For example, is GRPS educating all staff about the difference between administrative versus judicial warrants? For example, will all GRPS staff be trained to not allow immigration officers in non-public areas and to not allow such officers to interview students? and the list goes on. I'd also and finally like to ask whether the superintendent and board will follow the example of Lansing School District and remove info about students' addresses, place of birth, and telephone numbers in its directory information, which could be used by immigration officers. And this is also consistent with the ACLU and Merck recommendations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bo?
Good evening, all. Dr. Robbie, board. Tonight, I'm going to share a story of an immigrant student who moved to Michigan from Puerto Rico, not knowing any English, and was lucky enough to have a caring, empathetic teacher. The first time that I ever spoke in a classroom after learning a little bit of English was in Mr. Bob Eaglekraut's third grade classroom in Battle Creek, Michigan. Wilson Elementary School no longer exists. It was knocked down. He asked a question. He asked, who is the president of the United States? My dad being a CNN junkie at that time, we used to watch the news together every evening, and I knew the answer to that question. And I raised my hand for the first time ever in a classroom, and I said, Ronald McDonald. All of the kids did what we just saw happen, right? They laughed. I cried. The first time I took a chance. And he said, no, relax. He's right. He is a clown. Ronald Reagan, right? That moment changed the course of my life and my relationship to education. It is because of those actions that happen daily in GRPS, in different school systems. Those are the impacts that we can have every single day. And if we, as a community, can see what's happening nationally and federally, the federal government is going to do what they want to do, whether we say we are sanctuary or not. They are going to try and close the educational system of the US and privatize it for profit. In these moments where we're asking as a community of caring individuals to do what is right, to make those impacts, it is not about what would happen or about divisions in Black and Latine and LGBTQIA communities. It is about coming together in an effort to say we will not stand for this, so that students that do not know English feel that they are supported in a way that is way more than will ever be known by you all individually. Every single day, I work with parents of the Latina and global majority communities, and the fear is real. As they walk into those classrooms, as they have the Bob Eaglekrauts that exist in GRPS, and they are welcomed with open arms, and they say, you are going to be successful. It changed, and it made me want to be a political science major. It made me want to work in public schools in Detroit. It makes me, every single day, want to be a part of this community, because I know that we have the capacity to make these changes happen. So I urge you all to do what is correct, not in semantic ways, with real policies, so that all of our students that are in these rooms understand what those policies are, how those policies will be input, and what those outputs will be for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that ends our agenda-related public comment. So we will move forward with the secretary's report.
All right, so, excuse me, I'm so sorry. We've got the ad hoc facilities committee meeting. They are scheduled through December on the second Monday of the month at 4:30 p.m. In conference room 112 in the library building over there across the parking lot. The next meeting will take place on March 10th. And then finance committee meetings will take place on the fourth Monday of the month at 5 p.m. The next meeting will take place on March 24th, and that is here in the auditorium. So again, ad hoc facilities, March 10th in the library at 4:30, and here in the auditorium is finance on March 24th. Thank you.
Committee chair reports. Finance committee.
So we will be voting for them in our action items under the budget, but the committee is bringing forth some general fund items, which include instructional supplies, equipment, and services, support material and services as well. And then there are several bond projects, which will be voted on later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And ad hoc facilities, sticking with you, Trustee Williams?
Yes. So for ad hoc committee, we pretty much had an overview meeting just to get our new committee members up to speed about the work that has been done. And then there will be an opportunity to review the schematics for the plans for Aberdeen. And there will be opportunities for board members to visit construction sites. So if there's interest, please reach out and let me know.
Okay, thank you. And I think we're sticking with you because we have a conference report out for the National Association of School Boards Advocacy and Equity Institute.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'll keep it pretty brief. One of the, we of course went over different things that are taking place with executive orders, things that we have been advocating for a long time, proper funding for IDEA, and those things did happen. We did meet with, we were planned to meet with one of our representatives. However, we met with her staffer instead as she was not able to make her flight. And we did that in conjunction with other districts from the Kent ISD. And we, again, just lift up those talking points. We received advisement again on all of the executive orders and different changes that are going to be taking place. So it was more like we have to really kind of let that stuff go through the court processes to really understand the full impact of where that is. But then there was a particular presentation which came forward with regards to marketing and branding, and this kind of stuck out with me as it really uplifted the board's responsibility as well as being a part of that plan. And marketing, and that takes place from the way we conduct our meetings to how we speak well of our district and the issues. And it came up, like there's while there's always room for improvement, always room for growth, but that is not where you lead in discussing your branding. You lead from your places of positivity and assets, and you work toward improving areas of deficiencies. And I think sometimes it's a message that should be uplifted here. So I am bringing that forward. But that is pretty much it, mostly legislative things.
Thank you. We do not have a foundation report tonight, so we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm going to bring forward our lobbyists, Stephanie Seismus and John Helmholt, to talk about some legislative updates, and they can also provide an overview related to some of the things that are taking place across our state with immigration information and such. Welcome.
Good evening.
All right. I'm just going to pull up our PowerPoint here real quick, but thank you for having us. So we'll get started just as a brief intro while that's coming up. It's been, I'm sure, as many of you know, a ever-changing political landscape federally and at our state, to say the least. Just as a reminder for everybody here and the board members, at McKelvey Merchant and Associates, we only handle state legislation and politics. So obviously what's happening at the federal level comes down and affects what's happening at the state level. So we'll tie some of those things together. But as far as executive orders and what's happening at the national level, we're following, but it's not something that we directly handle. So our efforts are with our state representatives and senators here in Lansing. So with that being said, okay, we're going to multitask. So with that being said, this week, some of you might have seen, the governor came forward with her budget recommendations. I will start before we kind of go into detail. As we saw, one of the
executive orders that came through that was reversed was federal funding being freezed. And the budget that was presented from the governor's team, it was with the preface and the notion that we would have all of our working dollars, over 40% of our budget from the state of Michigan, comes from the federal government. So if that happens to be frozen again, even though that was quickly reversed, but if that decision comes back, the budget recommendation that was brought forward obviously will look very different and kind of have to go back to the drawing board if 40% of our budget is not at the table. So today, we're going to go through some of the highlights of her budget recommendations, the political climate in Lansing, which is often does. It's kind of following suit from the federal level, but it is a divided government in Lansing. As you all know, we have a Democratic governor and Senate Majority Leader and Senate, but we have a Republican House caucus and a new Speaker. And that has been a new political landscape in Lansing as we see that Speaker kind of form his caucus and sign his committees and create what we're also seeing federally here at the state level, kind of a new level of oversight has been something that's been introduced by the Republican Party in Michigan. Usually we just see our typical committees. And in addition to our, like your education, agriculture, your kitchen table issue committees, there's been about 10 different oversight committees. And that is something that will be new this time around when we're looking at policy and how that successfully goes through the chambers in Lansing. So with that, let's go through just a couple of the details of budget recommendations from the governor. As you all are probably aware, these are just budget recommendations, right? This is the governor's Christmas list. If she had it her way tomorrow, this is what the budget would look like. It will look very different. It has to go through the Senate, it has to go through the House. Lots of negotiations will take place. And the Speaker has made it pretty clear that he suspects that the budget will probably go all the way through October, which is not favorable for us because that's a whole fiscal quarter without knowing the type of funding or programs that you're going to see or not see. So I, for our sake, I hope that changes, and I hope that we, finish up in May or June like we typically do. But right now, it's looking like it might be going to the fall. So
Stephanie, before you go further
Yes.
on that, just so that people understand kind of the timeline of how that impacts schools from schools budgets are from July 1 through June 30. And so if we don't know what our funding is, I just want to make sure people understand, if you don't know what your funding is until October, it does make it harder to kind of know what your money and your resources are, because obviously school starts in August. So and this was something that happened years and years before, and then over the last 3 to 5 years, they've moved the budget closer to the spring so that as schools are determining their budgets, they knew what their resources were.
Mm-hmm. And that's the high hope, is at least hopefully it will be June, but it will be something for us to watch and monitor going forward, for sure. So with that, like I just mentioned, the exact number is 41.7% of our $83.5 billion budget. Is from the federal funds. So the governor and her team, again, just made that abundantly clear that her recommendations are based off of thinking that, we have 100% of the funds on the table. With that being said, a large emphasis overall of the governor's budget recommendations positively for us was an increase in education and in many pockets of education. So a couple of them, and I apologize because it's just a lot of numbers to go through, but we'll go through some of them specifically. And then we included a couple of just examples for you all to have, and if there are questions on those, we can certainly go through them too. So the budget represents a 1.2 increase from the 2024-2025 current fiscal year, which is a 2% general fund. The K through 12 budget is $21.2 billion and $18.5 billion from the school aid fund. which was a 2.7 increase, and a 4.8% school aid increase. So we're heading in the right direction with school aid funding and per pupil allowance. You'll see here the foundation allowance was an increase to at least $10,000 per student under this funding proposal. So it was a 4.1 increase per pupil funding. And a major focus of the governor's overall investments was to include more funding for literacy supports. It targeted interventions and best practice incentives for schools. These proposals came as a recent report showed that 75% of Michigan's fourth graders and 76% of eighth graders do not read above grade level proficiency standards. Do you want to do the next one? You want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. So another emphasis of her investments were to continue to fund free preschool programs for all 4-year-olds in the state was $676 million, up from $628.3. The budget further includes $61 million for pilot programs that provide free preschool, for 3-year-olds. And the one thing that was lower with her budget recommendations, which received some pushback, especially from the other side of the aisle that she is on, was proposing a lower per pupil funding level of $8,000 for cyber school students, and it was a total reduction in $36 million. A key part of the governor's proposal and funding strategies the administration hopes will help the state get smart on education, one of the things that she's taking on as her kind of new brand, by focusing on students' metrics and results with transparency. And funding for this effort included $232 million, 107 being ongoing, for district implementation of best practices, high-impact tutoring, and the budget also requires 10% of combined at-risk and discretionary foundation allowance to be utilized on best practices and tutoring as well. This next page, I won't go into detail. I am going to highlight just one bullet point because it was for our returning board members. You'll remember last year, 31A received a big cut, and that received bipartisan backlash. And even for those of you that were not serving, you probably heard that was a pretty big moment in our state. Democrats came back with a supplemental last year and increased that funding. So the governor kept that supplemental increased funding in addition to the 31A funding, which is another $150 million for mental health and student safety efforts in the state of Michigan. So going on to the political climate, while we were setting up, I touched on some of this already. I'm going to go into it a little bit in more detail, and we'll stop at the end, and please feel free to ask questions, and we'll answer them as matter of fact as we can. Our job as lobbyists is to advocate for GRPS and our teachers and students and admin the best that we can with the political lay of the land in front of us, and we always do so nonpartisanly. So I just like to remind folks of that we work hard to work across the aisle, but folks on both sides of the aisle make decisions, and our job is to inform you of those when they happen. So one of those has been recently by Speaker Hall, who has, like I had said, pretty quickly followed the national rhetoric and decisions being made out of the White House. He doesn't have the ability as Speaker to do executive orders or things like that, but he does have the ability to put forward resolutions and rules within his chamber. And budgets and bills have to pass both chambers. They have to go through the House and the Senate and then make their way to the governor's desk. So he has put forward a new rule in his chamber that I will go through here in response to the governor's budget. So his new resolution would ban communities with sanctuary policies and those that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration officials from receiving additional state funding. The rule would prohibit any jurisdiction that refuses to comply with federal immigration enforcement measures from receiving additional state funding. The resolution does not prohibit municipalities from receiving constitutionally required revenue sharing, although those are slim. And Hall defined sanctuary jurisdictions as any municipality that does not help enforce federal immigration law. So you do not have to use the word sanctuary underneath his meaning and definition in his resolution. So this is a political reality that the speaker has made it clear that this type of verbiage in any bill, including budget bills, will not pass his chamber and funding will be withheld. So this just came forward last week. So important for all of you to be aware while you proceed in making timely decisions in this district. In addition to that, one quick thing.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
I just had a clarification too.
Yeah.
Because I also was reading about that bill, and I just want to make clear that it's only for municipalities, correct, at this point? So I see, I'm reading the bill right now.
Mm-hmm.
Municipality means a county, city, village, or township, not school districts.
That's correct, but think about how school districts are tied within cities and supported by that. So yes, you still could be getting your state funding. You may not federally, that's still up in the air. But again, as of right now, yes, I think it's going to be interesting to watch to see because the speaker has also issued official letters on his letterhead to counties and cities with that one. And I think federally we're seeing other steps being made, and I would expect the speaker to take them closely behind. But as of right now, you are correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make that distinction. Thank you.
Absolutely. Richard?
Yes. Speaking back to the governor's budget proposal, does her proposal speak to universal student meals at all?
It does.
Is that going to be sustained?
As of right now, it's included, but that is one thing that thank you. That is one thing that House Republicans have made pretty clear that they would like to see removed and that they do not support. But through political conversations and negotiations, it will be interesting to see if that stays. But to your point, that is one thing that the speaker and Republicans have universally expressed a lot of displeasure with.
But the governor has it in her
The governor
proposal.
has it in
Okay.
her budget right now.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. So in addition to this rule that the speaker has brought forward after the governor's budget proposals, the main three priorities that he wants to see, which the governor listed several, he narrowed it down pretty simply in his perspective. And that should be funding a public safety trust fund, reducing the personal income tax, and providing $3.1 billion toward a long-term road funding solution. He's made it pretty clear to the governor and the Senate Majority Leader that he doesn't have a lot of interest in doing much of anything else. Legislative priorities for his members are not a priority for him. And these are the three things that he wants to see get done. So with that, again, members that were here last term, you'll remember briefly us talking on House Bill 6058. There is a little bit of a political update here as well. So to the best of my ability, I will explain this lawsuit. If there are questions along the way, please stop me. But lame duck, as many of you will recall, serving or not, it was a little bit of an unprecedented session last cycle when all of our Republican members left the chamber, and with that also pulled one Democratic member with them. And the House did not have the majority of members present to move any legislation in lame duck. So they only had a day of lame duck movement, and then it all came kind of closing down around them. Due to that, though, there were several House bills that moved over to the Senate in time. The Senate Majority Leader ran what I do believe was the longest session in Michigan history, almost 2 straight days of session. We were all a little tired in Lansing after that one. And she moved hundreds and hundreds of bills out of the Senate chamber. And with those bills being moved, they had gone through the House chamber, they have gone through the Senate chamber, no changes were made to those bills, so they did not have to go back to the House chamber. The next process in government is for them to be presented to the governor for her signature. The current speaker withheld bills and did not present them to the governor. At a certain time, things transferred over to the new legislature, and we had a new speaker, Matt Hall, and there were 9 bills still remaining that were not presented to the governor, and he continued to choose to not present them to the governor, and one of them being House Bill 6058, which I won't go through all of the details today on that. You have it in front of you, but it is real briefly, it supports public employees and officers. It deals with compensation and benefits in the public employer contribution percentage to the medical benefit plans that they participate in. And that's a very general summary. There's lots of detail here. But all of that to be said, I go through all this process with you because the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Democratic Caucus has chosen to bring on a formal lawsuit against the Speaker for him to present these bills to the governor, which you can imagine has created a bit of a political dynamic in Lansing and lack of wanting to come to the table and work on issues. So it will be interesting to see when we have major issues like paid sick time leave in Lansing right now and budget items coming forward, how those conversations between chambers proceed with that lawsuit pending. And again, really just for you all to review, these are not major bills. And as I had mentioned, the Speaker has really just formed committees within the last week or two and has not given a lot of rope for his members to go and start introducing legislation. Policy committees are quite slow. With that, the Senate members have started introducing a few more bills, but most of them in the minority, and meaning they don't have a lot of leg or likelihood to move. But a few new bills for you to review, and if any of them catch your eye or interest and you want to engage with them, please let Dr. Roby know, or your board president, and John and I can help arrange those meetings and talk with bill sponsors. And I should just say for new members as well, that's something that we do. So if there is an issue as a board that you are passionate about or concerned about, you would like to see pass something that you would not like to see passed, some members will let you know. We did a great job, and your former board members did as well, of making themselves available to either get on a Zoom or come to Lansing and meet with legislators and have those conversations. So please know that that's something that stands for your board. One last thing, just to bring new board members up to speed as well. So as Richard asked the question about the Michigan Meals Program, Grand Rapids formed unique partnerships that helped consolidate services and dollars for the state of Michigan with numerous schools in around GRPS, including, for example, East Grand Rapids, and the Aviation Academy. And because of that, how the bill was written, it removed some funding that was supposed to come from the state of Michigan due to those partnerships, and it created a deficit for GRPS. And we are working very diligently to try to get that funding back through a supplemental line item. And if lame duck would have happened and not had half the chamber walk out on the job, that would have happened successfully. We were in a supplemental bill ready to go. We had a vehicle, but we didn't have chambers to move it through. This time around, just this last week, there was a supplemental bill that was introduced in the Senate that this could go into, but the question is Speaker Hall going to sign and accept a supplemental budget right now or not? But we are working with the governor's office and the Senate Majority Leader's office to include the $1.2 million that was a deficit to make GRPS whole. And with that,
I would just add, just for drama's sake, during the whole lame duck, it was like highs and lows when we were going into the last couple hours, last couple days, and Stephanie had teed this up to have this one-time supplemental to solve this one-time problem. And so despite our best efforts and the highs and lows of the, oh, wait, we're back? Oh, no, we're not. So anyway, in the end, your Lansing-based lobbyists went to bat all the way up to the wee hours. So,
Thank you,
we're going to
Stephanie.
continue to fight it, but
so not for lack of effort, just lack of attendance, that did not happen. But, so with that, any questions or further discussion on some of those items? Richard?
Could you speak more to the governor's budget proposal in terms of the transparency language and what that would entail and how that would affect us here on the ground?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to have to dig into it a little bit more, and I'll
Okay,
get back
that's
to you, and
fine.
I can email you.
Yeah.
I will say that's been a topic of conversation, as you're aware, in Lansing, and not only from the governor, but really coming out of the Senate chamber. And there's been some, disagreement on how far that transparency should go. So let me dig into that before I speak further, and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Anyone else?
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Moving forward with the bond update, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to ask Mr. Alex Mark to come forward to provide a bond update, and then right after, he'll do a quick summary overview of the real estate owner representative services, along with Mr. Luke Steyer.
Luke Steyer. Just chatting.
Well, we cue this. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Davis, Dr. Roby, board members. While we do this, I just want to give a quick little shout out to our newest member of the facilities team, Mr. Dale Kaminga. He's sitting back there. So wave hi, Dale.
Hey, Dale.
He's our new director of design and construction. He joined us back in December, so he's still learning quite a bit, but we're happy to have him. So I believe that Dr. Roby sent a quick little summary update with a letter on Friday, which we prepared to try to bring up to speed our new board members as to some of the things that we're doing. So I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of detail on my presentation, but of course, feel free to ask questions however they come up. But most of these projects are referenced here. All right. Thank you, Luke. What I would like to do is to briefly go over some of the active and summer construction projects, and those are the ones that I would like to be focusing on. We're going to talk briefly about Sibley renovation, Coit, 6B, Houseman Field, and Briggs Field, a few parking lots, Central Auditorium, Chavez, and Dickinson. Those are the projects that we're planning on starting construction. Some of them are already going like 6B, but the other ones will be starting construction as soon as school gets out. At the auditorium, we hope to start construction even before that, if at all possible. This we will not dwell into it yet, which is a design and programming. We have the New Aberdeen, which we will be planning a presentation. Riverside Montessori, Kent Hills, Ottawa Hills renovation, Alger, Union Auditorium, City Auditorium, Ottawa High School Auditorium, Union High School renovation, and Union Swimming Pool. So as you can see, we have a lot of projects going on right now. I don't want to keep you here too late, so I'll bring those back to you in the future. So starting with Sibley, our plan is to complete phase 2 If you recall, last year we started phase 1, and I want to talk a little bit about the phasing. I know that this board has agreed and tasked us with trying to do construction whenever possible without students in the building. Now, sometimes that will not be possible, and then we will work through that. But whenever possible, we try to do that. So that's the reason why you'll see some phase 1 and phase 2, is because we're trying to scope the work so that way we can get it done in the summer and not affect the school year. So Sibley and Coit are on phase 2. And as you can see there, we're pretty much gearing to complete the project. This is the last phase where we're going to be replacing drinking fountains, doing some improvements for lighting, flooring, HVAC, and painting and temperature controls. And I apologize, I have lighting up there twice. At any given point, if you have any questions specific about a project, please let me know. Coit, phase 2, this one is a little bit more robust because we have a lot of HVAC upgrades. We're replacing also the emergency generator for the building, parking lot resurfacing, and you can see the list. I don't have to read this to you. Both projects, we're working with the construction managers, and we have not identified any concerns as of right now when it comes to the supply line and getting the materials and products that we're expecting to have. So as of today, we're good to go. So 6B, this one is exciting because it's under construction right now. In fact, that photo that you see right there is the current state of our 6B building. We have pretty much demolished and down to the studs, as you can see. And we are in the process of putting everything back together and getting the building ready. Construction is moving really quick. Our intent is to be receiving our scholars next fall. So when we come to August, August will be opening the doors to receive our scholars from that are currently at Jefferson. This is one that I think Trustee Williams mentioned that perhaps we'll schedule a tour. We'll work through Dr. Roby's office to form small groups. We can't have large groups, and we're also going to be working with the construction manager to identify what would be the best time for us to do that, so that way we don't distract or interfere with their construction and the schedules that they have going. Just in 6B, for or new board members, the intent is to really transform the school to receive high school age students. This building used to be elementary school and preschool programs we had there. And we are making all the necessary changes to right size and create brand new space for scholars. So we're pretty excited about this one. Houseman, Field, and Briggs. We're ready to go. We received all the bids. We've had already coordination meetings with both contractors. And as soon as graduation is done, that following week, we'll start mobilizing and starting construction at Houseman Field. Briggs, we're going to be moving in a little bit earlier. The request has been for us to start in March, early March. And that one, we have natural grass, and we're replacing that with turf, so that takes a little bit more time to take. So we want to be able to get ahead of that, so that way we can use Briggs Field in the fall. If that was a change later on, late in the project, originally we had seeds, but that was going to put us out another year. So we made that change to make sure that the building is available. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, parking lots. We had 6 schools' parking lots originally designed and documented. Once we received the bids, we narrowed it down to the top 3 that we believe have the greater need right now based on the condition of the parking lots. One is Innovation Central High School. GR Montessori, both of those are going to receive a new layout and new surface. And Congress Elementary probably will have the biggest impact because we're taking the opportunity to develop a parent drop-off and pick-up area. Right now, it's tough. It's pretty tough. We make it work. We've been making it work for years, but we're really optimistic that this change is going to greatly improve the site circulation and the safety of our scholars and parents and staff. We hope to come back for a later phase for Congress to see if we can develop the same thing for busing. Right now, busing is on the street, and we've had some initial conversations with the city of Grand Rapids to see what other options we have. So we're studying that. We'll bring that back to you if we move forward with that. Future projects, C.A. Frost Middle High, Kent Hills, and Lion Street parking lot. Those we're waiting. There is a note on Kent Hills. We do have a project, a renovation project for Kent Hills, and we're just starting to put all the numbers together, and we're hopeful that the budget that we have for that project will be able to support doing the parking lot as well. And if that is the case, we'll move forward with that one onto that project. Innovation Central High School Auditorium. So we received the last bid package for this, and right now we're in the process of evaluating those. We have a meeting with the teams later this week, and we are trying to reconcile all the scope of work and the budget, and we're hopeful that within the next couple weeks we'll be able to identify and develop the schedule for construction and start right away. I know that the last bid package has been brought for your approval, so once we have that, we'll move forward with this as well. And we're also trying to replace the seats. So that's going to be a big, big improvement there. Chavez Elementary, Phase 1. This is one of the ones that we're looking at how much work can we get done within the summer. And in reality, the number one thing that we really want to achieve this summer is replacing the entire flooring in that, all the classrooms. The carpet is it's in pretty bad shape, and we would hate to have to go another school year with that. So that is going to be part of Phase 1, and we're also pushing hard to do the playground surface upgrades. That was another ask from this board, that all playgrounds eventually become very much universal design, very free accessible. If you guys have an opportunity to go to Coit, you'll see a project that we did last summer, and that one is absolutely awesome. The kids love it, and we're very proud of that. So we're hoping to be able to get to the surface in here also this summer. And the last one that I have is Dickinson, and the emphasis for this one in the summer is to complete the secured entrance for the school. That has been a top priority for us, and the architects are already developing the documents for us to do that work and get it done before our scholars come back in August. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to do my very best.
Looks like we're all set. Thank you,
Okay,
Alex.
thank you. So I'll wait till the next, till you tell me to proceed.
And this is just with regard to our real estate owner conversations that we've been having, and this is just to provide a quick update. So I'll let Alex and Luke take it from here.
Okay. For the real estate consulting owner representation process, we did issue a request for proposal. It was out for roughly 3 weeks. We received 4 responses. We received responses from Community Wealth Partners, JLL, Plant Moran, Real Point, and CBRE. We are right now in the process of interviewing firms. We completed 2 interviews last week, and we're going to complete the other 2 interviews this week. And we hope to be able then to come back with a recommendation to Dr. Roby within the next week or 2, so we can proceed and bring that to finance.
Will you talk a little bit about the rubric that we've asked you all to use, please?
I'll be glad to. In the request for proposal that was submitted, we actually included the selection criteria. So all the applicants, all the companies that were submitting had that information. And we also included the scoring weight for each one of these categories. For example, experience and similar projects, that would be a 30% of the weighted score. So I can make this available. Actually, this is in the website. You guys can take a look at that. I don't know, Dr. Rowe, if you want me to go through the whole thing, but it also includes, makes a reference to local representation, and that has been a board policy, I believe, that it gives our local and minority-owned companies a 5% advantage from other applicants. So, you want anything else to add?
I have a question about the 30% for experience, and I'm wondering about how does that open us up to an opportunity to have a more inclusive process with such a weight on that at 30%, given that we definitely want people to have some level of experience to do the work, but at the same time, that could box us into the usual suspects. So how do we, how can we work and look at that to get beyond the usual suspects sometimes? I think we do business with some of the same people a lot of time because of those type of things. How can we be more inclusive?
Well, the 30% is one of them. I can share the other ones. The approach and methodology, that's 25% on how they approach the project. We have a 20% for community engagement, and 15% for the fee structure, and 10% would be for project outcomes and references. So I guess if you take the whole thing together, there are other opportunities for companies also to stand out. If maybe the experience is not as high, maybe they're excellent when it comes to community engagement and strategies. I'm not so sure how we can change that at this point. I'm open to suggestions. I don't know, Luke, if you have a...
Well, and with this one, it was in the RFP already.
It was in the RFP.
But are you asking, moving forward for us to look at that? We can certainly do that.
I think so, because I think as a district, we can do business with the same vendors repeatedly, and because of that weight of 30%, that's pretty significant to put just on experience and versus the full scope of the work and whether or not they have a capability to do the work. So I'm asking about that because, again, I think it's important if we want to create opportunities for people to be able to come to be a vendor with us. If we have a weight that heavy, that could give us, again, the usual suspects. And how can we get beyond that? Or how can we try to make room for the little guy? To some degree, and not just have the same people we do business with because we keep doing business with them, and we get the big box versus the small business, if you get what I mean.
Yep, I understand.
I think that's good feedback for us to look at.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions on this?
I did have, you mentioned that the RFP, that document that you've got in your hand is available online. I'm looking online and I just see that it says that it'll be announced in January, so has it not been uploaded yet?
If you scroll down further, I believe that might be the first thing.
Then I scroll down and it's got scope of work for Ken O'Shea, Riverside, Montessori, and New Aberdeen.
Is it no longer good because it's expired now? Because it's closed?
It's possible that because it's closed, it expired.
Okay.
That's
Okay. I was just trying to look for it, but yeah, if you could just put that back.
We can make this available. We can
Thank
send
you
it
so much.
through Dr. Roby.
To me again, and we'll make sure that.
And then we
Perfect.
can distribute that so
Excellent.
that we can have it. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We're all set.
Thank you.
That concludes my reports.
Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to action items. Up first is the purchasing agenda. Are there any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the purchasing agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to approval of Kent Intermediate School District Schools of Choice Resolution. Are there any questions regarding this one? Is there a motion to approve the approval of Kent Intermediate School District School of Choice Resolution?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign? Okay. And moving on to board statement of commitment to support our immigrant families. I would like to give each board member a chance to ask any questions or share what they're feeling about this. We're going to just kind of try something new and let each member speak without commentary from other members, and then we can discuss afterwards for a little while before we take a vote. I am just going to follow the order of our roll call tonight, which, just for public knowledge, that changes every time. We just rotate that. So I'll start with Trustee Moreno.
I just want to uplift all the work the district staff have done to create the website, to send out, to engage our families through communication. I just really want to uplift the work through your leadership, Dr. Roby, to Luke, for the communications. I've been pointing a whole bunch of people towards the website for all those resources, so thank you so much for all that great work. I really appreciate it, and our families really appreciate it too. I know our last meeting as a board was very tense, but I appreciate the really great dialogue we had. Just really want to uplift also Jose's work the last few months around the resolution and kind of talking through, what that can look like. I know it's been a hard conversation, and then seeing the presentation today of how critical language could harm us. I was like, I'm not fully committed to. I know the legal had to kind of clean it up to kind of appease some of that tension we're feeling because of some backlash our district could receive. But I know that we're really committed as a team to continue uplifting, making sure that our district is safe and welcoming and folks feel like they belong. I'm the most excited about the advisory group. I really, my work is in policy, and so I'm really hopeful for what we can do with our partners, with school staff, and the board members who will be represented. It really will match some of that culture shift to ensure that it goes beyond just this group and beyond the staff. So I'm really looking forward to that work.
Okay. Trustee Melton?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Trustee Moreno just shared, and I've appreciated the time even for our board to meet with ACLU and actually several organizations. What I want to point out tonight is a lot of pushback has come about this idea of making a statement from public, from each other. We're kind of digesting how to do this in a way that's appropriate. So, of course, I turn to the policies, and in policy section 9000. We have policies for so much. Just because I have 3 minutes, I'm going to take that time. We have directions as to what news outlets are to do if they want to speak to any of us, who they're specifically supposed to go to, and under what parameters. We have direction or policies about what volunteers are supposed to do if they want to start volunteering in our school, who they talk to, what the parameters are. If anyone wants to use our facilities, it even dictates the attitude of the board. It says we are to encourage people to use our facilities under these parameters. This is who to go to. This is what you pay to use it. We have policies about how to accept gifts so that we need to thank people in writing. It tells us where to put that money if it can't go to the intended place. Student teachers, where they can work, that there has to be a written agreement. So we dictate to the university how they can go ahead to use our spaces for their student teachers. agencies doing research. There's actually a 4-point list dictating what the agencies shall do. Most importantly, we have policies about interviewing students, and that not only do parents have to have or give permission, but the superintendent has to give permission for interviews for students. Going to the next step, it would be our relations with law enforcement and investigating authorities. It specifies who we speak to, under what conditions, and it is not clear in this situation with immigration what to do, despite all these policies. So I want to reiterate that a statement is not anything revolutionary. What we're asking to do is a statement of intent to say, we're going to be clarifying this through a collaboration with our community. So a statement should not be scaring anyone. This is in complete alignment with what we've been doing for decades. So I just want to encourage us to not be worried about doing something outrageous. If we all are kind of agreeing that we want to make sure our language is in line with what we're being ushered into, but that the statement is nothing unusual. And I would encourage you to look at there's more that I didn't bring up under section 9000 on our GRPS website. So I want to encourage us to continue with a statement of intention around creating a policy with a collaboration of our community members, those impacted, and those carrying out the work. To me, the easiest way to start that statement is to give the directive at this point that any law enforcement starts with our security office. To me, that's the most logical place to go. It also allows our community who's saying, we're nervous that we're going to be picked up at school, to at least have that buffer of saying, this will not be something happening in our own offices, in our own schools. So to me, the two pieces is, one, the statement should be written. Again, not anything outrageous, just giving the intention of the board. And then two, the procedure, in my opinion, should be that we ask those who are federal agents or state agents or official law agents to go through our central office, where people can be trained really specifically around what the paperwork needs to look like for that next step to happen. That's it.
Trustee Rodriguez?
I like that you tried to.
I didn't try, actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
It was
it
just
sounded
stumble,
good. It sounded good. So, I'd say I was in rare form the last time we were all around, these tables. But, a lot of that I want to just say to the board, to the public, this is something, I'm very passionate about a lot of things, but this is something that I am also very passionate about is protecting our immigrant communities, our refugee families. It's something, back in 2022 that I campaigned on, actually. I was looking back at some of my stuff and it said, hey, that's one of my, one of my goals, right? And so I appreciate the work and the conversations that have led us here. I do think that if we're going to make a statement, I would like to have something that really because if we're going to put ourselves in any sort of peril, if we're going to put ourselves in any sort of hot water, I want us to go all out. And I think I appreciate the statement. I appreciate that all of us had a hand in crafting it. As I read it, it kind of reads as, okay, well, we follow FERPA, we follow the law, but here's a commitment that we're focused on. And that's fine. I think the work is a lot more important than the statement itself. That's something that I have continued to say, and I try to use a resolution as a vehicle for the work. I try to use a resolution for a vehicle toward policy that is really clear on what we do with, Homeland Security, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. I agree with Trustee Melton that, possibly the first place that we should direct any federal officers is to, either Franklin campus where safety and security is, or, someplace away from direct student contact. And I know that, this might not even be a possibility in our schools, and I don't ever want to, act like it wouldn't be a possibility ever, because I believe even one incident at our schools is going to be a tremendous shock to our community. And so, Yeah, aside from that, I don't really have too much more to say. I really do appreciate the work of the advisory committee being formed. Again, I think that's a great first step. I don't think that requires a statement of commitment. So I don't know if I would necessarily feel like I would need to support this to continue that work, though I appreciate the work that has been put into this. And so those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Trustee Wade?
No comment.
Trustee Williams?
Yes, so one of my primary concerns is that, again, we put a target on our district. And I'm not sure if this statement does or doesn't. Frankly, it's like Wild Wild West. So frankly, I don't know what could happen. I do think the district has made a similar statement, so I'm confused as to why there's such a push for the board to make a different one when they work at our direction. But the other part about what we have before us that is concerning for me is an abdication of duty for this board when you say you're giving someone else authority to create policy when that's our work. I have a concern about that. I don't think that's a great precedent to set. It's one thing to make a policy recommendation. It's another to say we're giving you authority to create policy. And for me, that is a problem, and that goes in direct violation of what we have been sent here to do. So I definitely am open to review, refine, and updated policy recommendations. I have a problem with language where we're giving someone else the authority to do our job. But ultimately, if our board is in support of it, it's in support of it. And if this makes our families feel better, great. I am just, again, just really want us to just be intentional about the work. As I said before, I don't know if a statement does anything, but I know the work does. And so that's what I'm concerned about most.
Trustee Williamson?
Yes, thank you. I want to start by saying, for me, a priority through this has been making sure whatever we do as a board and whatever the district does is very thoughtful, intentional, actionable, and meaningful. And I think the work that we've been doing so far really addresses those points. Working together to create a statement, to generate the idea of having an advisory group. And I actually agree with my colleague. I do not believe it's our place. It might not even be legal for us to abdicate the responsibility of that. However, the advisory group, and I support making changes to the language because that isn't clear in there. The advisory group exists to make recommendations that we as a board can act on. And I think that's a great thing. And this is a little separate from the purpose of the discussion, but speaking to the advisory group, I think that is a great thing to those points I highlighted at the beginning, to bring in people who are affected by this, groups that work in this space, to make recommendations for us. That way, going forward, our district response is thoughtful, actionable, and is actually going to keep students and families safe. To the language of this, I think there is merit to us as a board endorsing effectively what the position of the districts has been. I'm proud that the district's been responsive to this. This is really unanticipated and unprecedented situations we're dealing with. And, we can always move faster and we can always work quicker. But all of that said, I think the response so far has been appropriate. And I think there's merit to us as a board endorsing that and acknowledging that there needs to be continued work and we need to continue pushing forward and in some cases moving faster. So I could get into the language right now. Maybe I'll hold it until the discussion. There's some language that we could change in the statement to Trustee Williams' point. But overall, I do think there is merit to the statement. And I think as a work product for us, having the statement and an advisory group to make recommendations positions us well to respond to this thoughtfully. Thank you.
Trustee Davis?
I think the work that I've seen all of us do is extremely important, and I do want to just show appreciation and gratitude for the progress that we've made on this issue fairly quickly. I have not been particularly excited myself to make a statement. I've been very excited to do the work and to have us get together and have these conversations and address a lot of the things that have been outlined from the community. I want to see the result of these families in this community like feeling safe. I'm not against the statement. I've heard some of my other colleagues say that the statement might not be necessary, but I do want to see us continue to move forward and hold each other accountable to not doing this work and making decisions rashly, but definitely like moving swiftly and really protecting the people that we're here to protect.
Trustee Kilpatrick.
Yeah, I want to echo a lot of what's been said and just express gratitude to our superintendent and her team for getting communications out in an urgent and meaningful way. I also want to say that I'm deeply grateful for the energy and the time that the board is also putting into not only the statement conversation, but into the work of creating that advisory committee. So again, reiterating a lot here. And I also want to say that clear communication matters, and communication is our words and also our behaviors. And so I think this is a both and with the statement as well as the policy advisory committee and the policies that will come forward from that. I think that each additional gesture that we offer by way of word and by way of behavior is a reaffirmation of our commitment to our scholars' well-being, to their safety, to their inclusion, and really help strengthen the message that we believe that everyone belongs here and that we stand with our most marginalized members.
Okay, and I am up. I just want to thank each of you for your thoughtful comments, and I feel like there were snippets of each of yours that was in tune with what I want to say. I think, first of all, I'm so proud of our district. I feel like we're really leading the way. We have sent out a lot of communication. Thank you, Dr. Roby, and to her team, and also have begun trainings for staff and have things on the website. We're really responding to even the pamphlet that came forward in public comment, the ACLU. A lot of those things are things our district has already committed to and begun doing. So I feel like a statement, I do get a little worried about how that will possibly put a target on us, especially hearing the updates from the State House and how that might come down. We don't know. I do think it is somewhat, very repetitive of what has gone out from the district outside of the advisory committee. I'm in support of everything this statement says, and if it benefits our community to hear it coming from the board versus the district as a whole, that's fine. I do want to make a statement that my hope is that our board and our district are working together, that the district wouldn't present something that the board isn't in alignment with, and I feel like this very much mirrors the work that has already taken place. And as far as the advisory committee, I agree with you, Ms. Williams. I don't think any of us meant for it to be that group deciding on policy, but rather advising the board. And then the board members that are represented at that advisory committee would be voting on what to present or recommend to the board for a vote. So if we need to clean up language as far as that goes, I would support that. And very much in line with what Ms. Melton said, we do have a lot of policies already in place that address all of these issues. So it may come up in that committee that we need a policy specific for this, that it's not addressed in other policies, or it may be that we're revising and adding to current policy. We'll leave that work up to that advisory committee. But yeah, as far as this statement goes, if there's any other dialogue you guys want to have before I ask for a motion, now would be the time for that.
I have a question. As we're sitting here discussing these two, we have two different versions. Which one are we focused on? Which one I mean, they're not too different. The language, the words are a little different, but.
So one of them
I
It's
guess,
just an updated recently, given some attorney updates.
so is that the one that we're focused on per the,
I mean, it's up to us. What do we think? Do we want to just focus on that copy?
That's what I've been looking at.
I think I move that we now consider the updated version.
Can we discuss the language that we just
Do we
talked
want to
about
address
tweaking?
the policy language?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yep, he's just
Trustee Williams
asking,
is right.
he's
It
just
does look like
moving
it's-
that we consider this updated.
So we discuss, yeah.
If I can just add so that people know what we're talking about, on the 27th, we crafted a draft of what a policy, excuse me, what a statement could look like. And how we left the meeting was because we understood that it was a first draft, to send it through the lens of communications for clarity, syntax, all of those kind of editing kind of things. And then also ask our immigration attorney to also review the cleaned up version of what this meant and the recommendations around impact for the district and other things to kind of consider. And so that's what the white copy is, the cleaned up, edited version from the 27th, and the orange copy is the attorney's version with some legalese or through the lens of the law, so to speak, if that helps.
So, Richard, I think this is fine. I think Trustee Williamson is moving that we just focus on this orange copy. So do I have a second for that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so let's just look at this newly revised edition. Any discussion regarding that? Yes. Richard.
To the point brought up, I think, can I be heard? To the point brought up on that second to last paragraph that reads GRPS will uphold this commitment, et cetera, et cetera. I'll read the sentence out if that's okay. We'll uphold this commitment by establishing an advisory committee to review, refine, and update policies and resources. I think before the word update, we should add the word recommend and then have it say recommend policies, recommend updates to policies and resources. That way it's clear, it's not there's no ambiguity around the fact that this advisory is making recommendations for the board to consider. That's.
Point of clarity, I just want to make sure, who's taking notes? Are you taking? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that somebody's capturing.
And that was garbled, so if I need to reiterate, thank you. Thanks, John.
And you said, and recommend updates to policies and resources. Correct?
Yes.
Anything else?
I'm still wondering about the paragraph above that. Maybe it's appropriate, I guess I'm asking, do you think it's appropriate for our advisory group to review and then recommend the procedures, or, maybe not the procedures is the right word, but the policy to dictate where people go, and we leave this in for now?
I think if you're speaking to your idea of having them go to security first,
Just like all the
think
other policies.
we can't make a
in line.
statement that says something that isn't happening. Like, we can't say this is what is going to happen when we already have gone through trainings. I do think that it's possible for that to come up in that committee. I also think it would take talking with Dr. Roby and her staff about what are the implications of that. Is it even possible? Like, how would that look? Because ultimately, they would be the how of that. So.
I just also want to clarify, so with the work of the yet to be fully formed advisory committee, one of the things that we are trying to collect are, as Ms. Melton referred to, some of our kind of current policies that address, and I'm saying address kind of visitors, so that we can see where are there holes or where there needs to be some refinement of certain things and provide clarity over it. And so what this advisory group is a very kind of the scope is just around looking at systems, at current policies, if there's things that are not as clear, to make sure that we're supporting some of those items based on the desire and will of what has been shared. And then that group will come forward, or those recommendations will come forward for the board to make a decision voting up or voting down what's been recommended. And so being very clear to members of the advisory committee, they're making recommendations on current policies. We're not asking them necessarily to create policies, but to look at our current policies and things that, making sure that it is in alignment with our handbook and procedures and processes, as well as what we currently have, if that makes sense.
If there's a hole, they might point out.
Say again?
If there's a hole or something, they might
Yes,
point out that there's a
if
hole
there's
in
something
policy.
that needs to be, yes, that's how I've understood
Yeah.
what this group desired. This group desired.
Because we also don't want to limit it to immigrants if needed, right?
Which is why, as we were talking in conversation, specifically resources for marginalized groups, because also keeping in mind, there's six of one, half a dozen of another. It's like, if being clear on what you're looking for, but then not so narrow in scope that we're creating policies or statements for every possible scenario. And to the point of even prior to where we are nationally and with all the changes that have taken place, referring to policies on how visitors are brought into our buildings, that predated some of the things that have taken place in 2025. And so I think it's important that when you look at policies, it has to be in a place where it can adjust for current conditions, but also understanding that conditions will change and there will be opportunity to adjust for new current conditions. It won't, so not to be so narrow, but then to also offer flexibility. And that's how, as an example, we got to marginalized groups, if that makes sense. Okay.
I will share briefly that being in DC with these other districts, it was uplifted that the work that the district has been doing has been guiding the work of other districts, and that they are really looking to the leadership that has taken place at GRPS to help advise their own policies and work that they're doing. So I wanted to share that with you all.
Anything else in regards to this? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the statement of commitment to support our immigrant families, given the changes in the second to last paragraph?
I move.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Moving forward, excuse me, I have to find my way. Consent agenda grouping. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. And moving on to board president announcements. That's me, maybe. Sorry. Okay. So, on the topic of our advisory committee, I'm not sure if all of you have heard through the grapevine, but I did appoint VP Wade to be the chairperson for that committee. And I also appointed Trustee Davis and Trustee Moreno to be on that committee. Dr. Roby is working on appointing people from cabinet to be on that committee. They are working on gathering a couple building leaders and then also community partners. So we are close to having that finalized, and then we will work with Julie. Julie will help us figure out a time where we can get all of these people together. So the sooner the better. I know we have a lot of work that we are anxious to get started. So March 4th is a Tuesday. We are going to have our first coffee with the board of the year that evening from 5:30 to 7:30. I have Trustee Moreno, Trustee Wade, myself, and Sarah.
Melton.
Thank you. Trustee
Late.
Melton
It's all right.
are going to be there. We are working on more of a casual place for that. So we know it will be on the southwest side. And Luke is working on a couple of places I pointed out. We're waiting to hear back, but we should know shortly. I wanted to announce it tonight, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But we will get it out in social media and on the website maybe as soon as tomorrow. So, but that will be from 5:30 to 7:30 on March 4th. And then just a reminder to my colleagues to fill out the survey and communication styles for Deborah Keyes Wright for our retreat. I'm excited for that work. I think it's needed, and just excited to know each of you a little bit better and to build this team. And also a reminder to take the online trainings with MASB if you haven't yet. Lots of good information in those, so helps us just do our work even better if you can get those under your belt. And that's it for me. Public comment. Is there any other comment cards, Julie? Are we good? Okay. Okay, we have John Vandenheuvel.
Prior to, do you want to read into the, as a matter of process, Trustee Rodriguez?
Oh, sorry.
I apologize. I feel like we skipped that the first time, didn't we?
Yeah, I've been just kind of given the basics.
All right, so this is the second portion of our public comment section. Individuals must completely fill out the front of the card, indicate the specific business on which they, nope, that is. During public comment, individuals will be invited one at a time to the podium to address the board. Before beginning your comment, please state your full name. At that time, we'll start the timer, allowing each individual 3 minutes to make their comment. Please take note of the timer behind VP Wade. Board members do not respond to comment. Concerns will be brought to the attention of appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing with us.
And thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. And also, can I get a motion to extend the meeting since we are up against that 9:30 mark?
Motion to extend the meeting past the 9:30 mark.
Support.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. John Vandenheuvel, followed by Vanita Morgan-Smith.
Dear board members of the members of the Board of Education and Dr. Roby, my name is John Vandenheuvel, and I'm a teacher at City High Middle School. I'm coming to you today to appeal on behalf of myself and my colleagues in the district about specifically the status of our pay. Currently, we in GRPS are one of, if not the lowest paying district in the Grand Rapids area, and with that, one of the lowest paid districts in the state. All other school districts around us are paid at least 10% more than we are at the lowest levels and up to 40% more at the top levels of the pay scale. For example, I make $44,916 for my teaching. The same level of experience and education at Forest Hills earns $49,700, or 11% more than I do. Teachers oftentimes do not go into the profession for the money, but many are leaving the district and the profession overall because we simply cannot live on the amount of money that we earn. And teachers at the top level that are teaching with 20 years of experience, masters plus 30 credits, make $85,000 per year, as opposed to that $94,000 at Forest Hills. So it's another 10% difference, and the gap is pretty much across the board. We, as mentioned before, have seen a vast number of vacant positions and teachers who are planning to quit or move districts at the end of the year. And the primary driver of this movement is because we're simply paid less than other districts around us. If GRPS truly wants to reimagine the district, then we need to make steps to better serve our scholars. Then we should be leading the region in salaries in order to attract the best professionals and to keep our best teachers around. Because ultimately what happens on a daily basis for our children is dependent upon the classroom teacher. If teachers are paid more for their work, then they'll be able to focus more on their duty of educating our scholars instead of worrying about if they have to get a second job to make ends meet. Having a higher salary signals an increase in respect for us, so we are appreciated by our district, and it'll be a lot easier to feel better about the work that we're doing every day. We're living in a time of rising costs of living across the board, and our salaries have not kept up at all. We're being paid less money every single year because our salaries do not keep up with inflation. I believe that GRPS should move to yearly steps instead of every 3 years in order to help with the changes in cost of living, as well as be enthusiastic to work with our union in making a contract that the educators are excited to sign on to. Teachers leaving preparation programs are looking at each and every school district pay scale whenever they're graduating to see where should they work, which schools respect them the most. And so I believe that GRPS, if they want to attract the best talent, should be leading the region in salaries so that they're signaling to future teachers, we respect you and we want you here. Thank you. That's my time.
Benita Morgan-Smith, followed by Jolene Andrews.
Good evening, board members. My name is Vanita Morgan-Smith. I am here tonight as a parent deeply concerned about the quality of meals provided in Grand Rapids Public Schools. My daughter was recently served expired molded food at school. Because of this, I had to arrange for a meal to be delivered to ensure she has something safe to eat. Instead of acknowledging or addressing the issue, the school's response focused on why food deliveries are not allowed, completely disregarding the fact that the only reason the delivery was needed was the school's failure to provide a safe and edible meal in the first place. Grand Rapids Public School Students Wellness Policy 8453 states that the district must provide affordable, nutritious, and appealing meals that meet students' health needs. Federal laws, including the Child Nutrition Act and USDA guidelines, reinforce this obligation. Serving expired or molded food is unacceptable. A direct violation of these policies and a risk to student health. This is not an isolated incident. Student dissatisfaction with school meals has been well documented. Yet instead of addressing the issue, the district is making it harder for families like my own to step in when the system fails them. In Grand Rapids Public School, if Grand Rapids Public School cannot guarantee that its meals are safe and nutritious, families must have the right to intervene without unnecessary restrictions. Hunger is a far greater disruption to learning than a student picking up a meal from the office. I urge the board to take immediate action. Number one, investigate meal quality concerns to ensure complex with district policy and federal food safety guidelines. Number two, increase transparency in meal oversight, including clear reporting mechanisms for students and families. Ensure that schools prioritize student well-being over rigid policies that limit access to safe meals. No parent should have to worry that their child is being served unsafe food at school. Grand Rapids Public Schools must do better. Thank you.
Jolene Andrews, followed by Celine Turin.
Good evening, Jolene Andrews. I teach at Southwest Elementary. Believe it or not, the hardest part about making public comment at a board meeting is not public speaking, but deciding which topic to select. Do I want to make public comment on the fact that all of the safety drills changed this fall, yet school staff still haven't been properly trained? So now, not only am I not sure what to do during drills, but my students also don't know. God forbid there is a real-life emergency and we're all confused. Should I bring up yet again the fact that nothing is being done about student attendance? After 101 days of school, I still have only had 1 day where all of my students have been here all day, and 5 days where all of my students have been present at some point during the day. Should I bring up how difficult it is to get paid for any additional work we do? For elementary teachers to get paid for the 180 minutes promised to us by the contract, we have a new procedure. We now need to fill out a paper form, then put that same information online, and then upload a PDF of the paper form online. We are not trained on the new procedure, and most people in my building had their additional work form rejected at least once. I guess I'll use the opportunity to discuss how the district continues to add insult to injury in terms of not giving its educators a much-needed raise. Instead of giving us a raise, or even providing an offer above a 1.5% raise, which doesn't even cover the increase in insurance costs, the district is finding other ways to spend money. Most recently, it's a way that I haven't seen approved by a purchasing agenda, despite rumors of how costly the program will be. We received an email last week asking us to take a survey as a new partnership with Opportunity Thrive. It told us that they wanted to develop more resilient educators who can face the stress in education in healthier ways. This is a program that provides wellness coaches for educators who may be on the verge of burnout. The coach would help educators identify barriers. Let's save us all some time. Do you know what educators need in order to not feel overwhelmed and burnt out? More pay, fewer students, follow through from the district on attendance issues, more adults in the school buildings, and more planning time. Perhaps the planning time that was promised to us as the contract was signed 2.5 years ago, but has not been fulfilled and no progress has been made. What is not helpful is being made to feel that it's your fault if you can't handle the horrendous working conditions of GRPS. Upon taking the survey, you get results with scores and suggestions of how you can do more work in this area. Again, no changes from the district, just how you as an educator can work even harder at your job. It gives you tips like, if you don't feel supported, make sure to collaborate with others. With what time? If you're struggling with trusting your admin, ask more questions. We work in a district where asking questions can lead to retaliation. I don't want to sound like I'm not on board with mental health, but when this many educators are this close to burnout, this is no longer a tier 3 support. Something needs to change. If you want to fight educator burnout, pay us more, give us planning time, and take something off of our plates. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Davis, and trustees of the board. My name is Ceylon Tran, and I am a teacher of Grand Rapids Montessori High School. Every day, I find myself asking my colleagues how I can support a scholar or how I can help a scholar better than I already am. Every day, I see Mr. Malero giving snacks that he has personally purchased out to scholars. Every day, I see Mr. Brent giving engaging and relatable science instruction to these scholars. Every day, I see Mrs. O providing differentiated work for the scholars below, at, and above average in math classes. Every day, I see Mrs. DeYoung reflecting on her lessons, what she did well, what she could have done better, how she could reach a scholar better. Every day, I see Mr. Matt sitting with a scholar to calm them as they are frustrated. Every day, I see Miss Kate eat lunch with scholars so that they have a safe space to eat. Every month, I see Mrs. Allward plan our monthly GRACE meetings, GRACE for growth, responsibility, acceptance, courtesy, and empathy. I then see her meet with each of the 5 scholars that were awarded one of those characteristics for the previous month. She takes a statement on what those characteristics mean to them and gather their photo. She then takes these statements and photos and updates our hallway bulletin board to celebrate these scholars. Mind you, with no extra pay for any of that, on top of her full-time teaching job. Every school day, I'm typically the last car in the parking lot, leaving after an 11-hour day. Every day, I see these teachers' faces after the scholars are gone that just sink a little bit. I see them let go from hiding from the scholars everything they actually feel. I see the hardships they face, then putting their feelings, worries, and frustrations aside and put their best face on in front of the scholars. I feel their sleepless nights wondering how they're going to help that scholar at school who's afraid of ice, wondering how they're going to get out of their classrooms, fight, or hide if the worst thing to imagine were to happen, wondering how they'll pay their bills this month, wondering if they'll make rent or they just need to move an hour away just to be able to afford to live instead, wondering if they can afford that medical bill that will come after going to the hospital finding out that their cough from school was actually pneumonia. All of these come from just one school in the district, 11 teachers. I say this all to ask you, what are these teachers worth to you? Are they worth the lowest pay in the county? Are they worth 21st place out of 21 districts in the county? Are they worth just $44,917 after the 1.5% raise that was offered, while your superintendent got a 3% raise? Do you really believe deep down that that is all we are worth?
Frederica Brown, followed by Francis Neville.
Good afternoon. My name is Frederica Brown. Dr. Roby, Madam President, and trustees, board officers, I stand here this evening to uplift some topics. I first would like to draw attention to what I spoke about last month at the board meeting, and that is anti-Blackness that is seeped into areas of our district that may not be seen by all, but does exist. In my experience, I was acting as a parent organizer and not acting as a parent. I could say that it still affected me just the same. I would never want any parent, no matter what race, to feel as if they were not seen, if they are overlooked, discounted, unheard, misunderstood, or misidentified. It is my hope that the board considers adopting a parent bill of rights that is ratified and added to the GRPS Scholar Resource and Responsibility Guide. This should be done to ensure that there is race equity in parent engagement and parent leadership in each and every building in our district, no matter if it is in a private zone or if it's a school of choice or neighborhood place-based school. Creating a culture that is healthy and healing is needed now more than ever, and students and families alike should feel that they are welcome and represented and have shared leadership and decision-making at their school. Secondly, as we are all aware, there are executive mandates and orders that are threatening not only our immigrant population, but also threatens to abolish the history and oppression and struggles of Black Americans. Things like book bans that prohibit educators to teach, discuss, or acknowledge the 400 plus years of oppression that we face as a people is becoming ever more clear. I asked the district what steps can be taken to make sure that our curriculum is culturally accurate, based on truth, and that there are policies put in place to ensure just that. Lastly, with my time here today, I would like to take this time to uplift some powerful Black parent leaders and staff that have children in or work in the district. Addie Donnelly, the pal at City High, who helps other parents use their voice to speak out, as well as her daughter, Nkechi. Karen Walton, a strength-based interventionist and pal at Alger Middle, who makes a positive impact daily in the students' lives. Ms. Christy Collins, a KSSN coordinator at Dickinson Elementary, that goes over and beyond to make sure that families have what they need to be successful. And last but not least, I would like to uplift the Dean of Students at Shaman Hills, where my boys attend. Ms. Jessica, who shows up and makes sure she's involved in parents and present every day. I truly thank her for her dedication. These are just a few of the many, many parent leaders we have in the district who engage with parents, staff, and students and do it no matter what adversity or obstacle that has been set in front of them. As a fellow parent, I thank them, as well as other educators and staff in our district, and I hope they know how much they are valued, seen, and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Francis Neville, followed by Lenora Pickett.
A little bit short here. Good evening, Dr. Roby, board members,
And a special welcome to new members Eric Davis, Amber Kilpatrick, Eleanor Marino, and Richard Williamson. My name is Frances Neville. I'm a retired GRPS teacher. During my retirement, I completed my education specialist degree. My thesis, based on Michigan Common Core state standards for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, was published in October 2023. It has 2 copyrights and is being read internationally. I have just completed a first draft for a teacher's manual. I'm coming out of retirement and have applied to local school districts, including GRPS. Regarding my applications to GRPS, I applied in October for a position at Harrison, which is currently interim. When the careers website changed, the starting date changed to immediate. I called Daisy Romo asking for clarification. She indicated that the immediate starting date was incorrect and changed it to be determined. I made another application in December for Aberdeen, which was closed without an interview, even though I applied for the position on the same date as the posting. No reason was given for my application being closed without an interview. I was also interested in a more recent opening for a substitute principal position, but was told by Daisy Romo that it was open for one person to apply who had been recommended by a person on the board. She then asked me if I knew anyone on the board who would recommend me, and no, Dr. Roby, that's not why I called your office. This suggests that JRPS is still using the Friends and Family Plan for hiring employees. Due to the lack of communication, not only did I make calls to Daisy Romo, but also Christy Atwood, Matthew Beresford, and Chad Nielsen, asking for clarification regarding the jobs to which I had applied. In my conversation with Matthew, he stated he would investigate why my Aberdeen application was closed without an interview. I followed up with emails to Chad and Matthew thanking them for their time and a reminder as to why I called. That was 3 weeks ago. I still do not have an answer from Matthew. Due to the multiple conversations I had and the failure to communicate a clear message from the hiring team brings into question the integrity of your hiring process for applicants waiting to fill over 100 open GRPS openings. Thank you for your time.
Lenora Pickett.
Hello, my name is Lenora Pickett, Dr. Roby, and board members. I come before you with a complaint against Southwest Elementary School. Over there, it seems that we do have a racial problem. I had an appointment with the principal, and then I also called her boss, her boss over at the Board of Education. Went over there because it seems as though there are some parents who are not allowed to go past the office. And when I went in there, I was one of those parents. I am a volunteer. I am also a pal over at Mulek Park. And my daughter works for the district, and she's not allowed also to go past the office. And we were told that the students are afraid of us. And it's the reason why we can't go past the office, or parents can't go past the office. And we have to make an appointment in order to go to the classrooms. This is what I was told. I believe that the school has an open door policy, and being a volunteer, every school that I have gone into, I've always gone to the office, signed in, and told them while I was at the school. And I've never had an issue with going into any of the schools as long as I've shown my badge and explained to them while I was there. My granddaughter's there. We are involved parents. I've always been an involved parent with my kids, and also helped within the school districts. Whatever school my children were involved in, I was involved with their classroom and helping them out. My daughter has also been an involved parent with her child, and she's not an ordinary parent. The principal had told my daughter that she is just an ordinary parent, just like anybody else, and she would not be allowed to go within the school. And I feel like I also have had several parents to tell me that this is the same, and they're being treated the same. Now, mind you, on Friday, I went to pick up my granddaughter from the school, and I was allowed to go into the school, throughout the school. But I, being the person that I am, I told them no, I want to do the right thing because I want the school to do right by me. I told them no, that I need to go in the office and sign her out. There were so many things. My daughter was ill. Well, no, she got injured at school, and the school did not call me. She was injured a couple different times. She had a black eye. The school did not call and let me know that she had gotten a black eye. And I asked, was this policy? And they said that no, it wasn't. This was not the first time that this happened. So just letting you guys know.
Thank you, Ms. Pickett. Thank you for the public comment. That concludes public comment for tonight. Superintendent's comments.
Congratulations once again to our 2025 MLK Social Justice Scholars. I always am excited to see young people express themselves in various ways through art and through spoken word and through written language, just to kind of lift up the work that we are trying to do and how they imagine that Dr. King's legacy continues to have impact on us in 2025. Just, you know, when you do the parallels of what is taking place nearly 60 years ago and how far we have come as a nation, but how far we have not come. And I think it's really important to think about as we talk about equity and how does that manifest itself. And so I'm just always excited to have the voices of our young people to talk about the world that they want. And then how do we as adults ensure that we provide that space even when it feels uncomfortable. And many of the conversations have not felt comfortable, but I do think that we are trying our very best in the conditions that we are in to do the right work, not for statement, not for resolution, but because it is a moral imperative. And I'm appreciative of that. And I think it's important that we lift that up, even as we are navigating some strange times in our community, in our nation. And the children are watching how we do this. So I appreciate that. Just a reminder to our board that we do have our very first, my first, I'll say, not our first, our State of the School address, and that will take place at Ottawa Hills High School later this week. We are predicting no snow, because I've already heard that there's going to be snow, but just looking forward to kind of setting what the work is, the work that we have to do, and how we'll continue to do it together. So just lifting those two things up.
Thank you. All right, board member comments. I'm just going to move in the same order as we did prior, and maybe this will be something we establish this year. We'll see. So Trustee Moreno?
I just want to uplift again the students who were acknowledged today. If we can continue to uplift student voice and kind of figure out how to fold them in better into our work, you know, that I think is, to me, is really, really exciting. I know Trustee Kilpatrick and I are excited to go to the museum and check out some of the work that's posted there. That's going to be a really fun adventure. So hopefully other folks can join us. I think wanting to continue to have my board member colleagues to continue to be bold during these hard times. I've been really inspired by other leaders across our community, across the country, who have pushing against the grain and making decisions that I'm like, oh yeah, I want us to continue to align in that way. So I'm grateful for each of y'all today to adopt language of our commitment and our continued practice to engage community partners, to seek out things that are different or push against that grain again. Thanks.
Trustee Melton?
Yeah, I had the privilege of being at a superintendent's conference this last month in which I got to hear Dr. Roby speak with some of our partners with Plant Moran, and they did such a great job, and I was in the audience and heard a lot of accolades for the presentation and just kind of wanted to call that out. I just appreciate when our district can be not just taking care of our own, which we're doing, and of course that's the most important piece, but also sharing out how we do that with others. So it's exciting to hear that. Yeah, thanks.
Trustee Rodriguez.
No comment.
Trustee Wade.
Thank you all for sticking with us. I want to shout out the nursing staff. The work that they do is invaluable. I remember being a parent when my children were in elementary school and they say they don't feel good. And I'm like, go in there and see the nurse. And and the nurse was like always on my side, like, nope, they're fine, they can stay. I just appreciate having those resources in the schools and want to uplift the work that they've done and continue to do. And again, congratulate the MLK contest winners and honorable mention students and all that participated. I think mostly the teachers and staff who encouraged them to participate and push that initiative. Thanking the STEM Greenhouse students for showing up tonight. That program is something that I've watched grow from the very beginning, and the work that they do in our district to break barriers around our Black and brown students in science is amazing work and so important. And so I appreciate them coming out and just telling us more about their program. And shout out to the Ottawa basketball team because I went to the basketball game Friday, and I have never rooted for Ottawa so hard because I'm a polar bear and I just don't root for Ottawa. But I was cheering and I was all into the game and I was like, dang, I'm really sitting here, excited about Ottawa winning a game. And them boys play hard and they came out with a win. So congratulations to them and their coaching staff and also the Hall of Fame inductees that were inducted to the Athletic Sports Hall of Fame at Ottawa Hills. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Williams?
No comment.
Trustee Williamson?
No comment.
Trustee Davis?
I just want to say thanks again for all of you choosing to spend your time here and speaking up and using your voice.
Trustee Kilpatrick?
I want to echo that. No comment, really. Just a lot of gratitude for the folks who show up to our sessions, who hold us accountable, who ask hard questions, who bring advocacy forward. Thank you.
Okay, and I have no additional comment tonight, so meeting is adjourned.